What is up, my beat sorcerers? You are tuned into the 20 podcast, and I'm your host, DJ Spider. That is right. As always, our show is brought to you by Beatsource, the music streaming service for DJs that play everything. Beatsource has got all the music that you could need for every gig, along with expertly curated playlists, songs that no other record pools have, edits, acapella intros, outros, so much stuff, transitions, and these playlists. You're going to love them. So go on beatsource.com for a free 30-day trial and use our code THE20 to bump it up to a 60-day trial. And let me know what you think. Make sure you rate and review this podcast, the 20 podcast, on whatever platform you're listening. So on YouTube, give us some thumbs up, give us some comments. On Apple, give us some stars, give us some comments. Really helps us grow. And tell your friends. Let's keep this show growing. I do it for you guys, and I really appreciate the support I get back from you. But now, I need to tell you about our guest this week. We have got somebody that is a Red Bull 3-style champion, a DJ that is dope technically, but also super well versed in music and able to play many styles. He's not afraid of technology or pushing the envelope. We talk about DJ battles, including him winning the National Red Bull 3-style competition, which is massive. We talk about him touring the world, growing up in Chicago, living now and DJing in Las Vegas, switching from playing on laptops to USB sticks. We drop all the much asked about info. We are asked all the time about this info on the 360 cameras that we both use to film and post clips of our sets. We talk about his music production, original music and remixes, as well as his music production for film and TV. We talk about him being a drummer and so much more. So please welcome to the show, Trentino. All right, here we are. It is the 20 podcast. Welcome. We have got Trentino on the show today. Make some noise, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Blood out.
That's right. Snoop gives you the blood out. It's official. What up, man? How you doing?
Hell yeah. I'm good.
Good.
Can't complain.
Great to see you. Glad we finally made this happen. We've been talking about it for a hot minute. So excited to finally have you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are a man of many talents, a DJ battle champion, a drummer, a hiker, a music producer, and so much more. So I want to introduce people that don't know you to some of those things, people that do know you, make sure they know everything about you. So, yeah, man, just glad to have you here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I realize most people listening probably know me from 3-style, and that might be the only thing they know. So,
right.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of get a little more into my background, give people a better understanding of everything.
Right. And for people that are listening that maybe, just are from somewhere else and don't know you, at all, maybe, Trentino is an absolutely incredible DJ in so many ways, from technical ability to reading the room to music production to all over the place. This guy is incredible. And, just one of your many accomplishments, like we talked about, is winning the Red Bull 3-style USA championship, beating out 125 other DJs in that competition. And we have to mention that the final competition was judged by DJ royalty, A-Track, Jazzy Jeff, and Z-Trip. So it's not like you just won some random battle. The people judging it are like people that I've looked up to and just, some of the most incredible DJs in the world. So to win that is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they judged regionals and nationals that year.
Oh my God, yeah. So that's a huge deal and just, shows a lot about all the work you've put in over the years and to get to that point. And then that was even... When was that? Like 5 years ago or something?
Ooh, more than that.
Really?
It was 2013.
Oh, shit. So that was 9 years ago.
Yeah, it's ancient history at this point.
That's crazy. Time just flies. But I mean, so that's what I'm saying is that so much has happened since then. You've moved around the country. You've done so much stuff. But I guess let's talk a little bit about three style, and then we'll get into all the other stuff that you've done, since then and even before then. What was that whole experience like, even just coming from the beginning tryouts to the regionals to the nationals and then finally winning?
Yeah, so I first entered three style in 2011. Basically, that was the first year they were having it in Chicago.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I found out it was happening was because I happened to run into one of the Red Bull employees, Aaron Woody, at a club, and they sort of tipped me off that they were doing it. And then me and Big Ones ended up hounding her for weeks to try to get into it because we knew we were going to be good. And honestly, I don't think we would have been invited if we hadn't just pushed for it ourselves.
Right.
And then, so that year I got second to Big Ones in Chicago. He went on to win the U.S. championship that year. And then 2012 came around, they invited me, and I actually declined because I was really focusing more on production and electronic music, and I didn't feel like that was the right direction.
Right.
And then 2013 rolled around, and one of the people I knew at Red Bull called me to actually ask about another DJ that they were thinking about putting in it. And they ended up telling me about the judges and the prize money and the whole thing. Like basically 2013 in the US was the biggest it ever was. It kind of, it was a big step up from the previous years.
Right.
And then, it ended up kind of getting smaller after that. But once they finished telling me about all this stuff, I was like, well, I guess I'll just do it because it's such a huge opportunity, even though it wasn't, I wasn't really thinking about battling or I don't know, open format, I guess.
Right.
It was just such a big opportunity, and I knew that I had a good chance of doing well. So I just went ahead and did it, and then, rest is history.
Right. The rest is serious history. That's amazing. And how did you feel going up for that final battle with all those judges and everybody there? Where was the finals that year?
It was in LA at Lure, I think.
Oh yeah. Okay. I feel like I had to have been there, but I was at so many of them. I lost track.
I know.
But it's weird. I don't remember being there. So maybe I was gone or I was busy or something that night. But I remember the whole thing, but I don't remember actually being in the room. That's oh man. So how did that feel? Just going up there and executing your set?
Yeah, I mean, by that point, it was the third battle in just a couple months. So by that time, I was getting more comfortable with it. The first Chicago battle was actually the worst for me. I was super, super nervous. I was so nervous, my mouth was dry, and I was trying to lick my fingers to get some grip on the records, and there was just nothing there. And
oh my God.
I accidentally turned the power of one of the turntables off during a juggle. It was I pulled it together, but
right.
That one was bad. And then the next one was a little bit better. I was a little better prepared. I drank a lot of water beforehand. Nice. And then by the third, I was starting to get a little more comfortable. But yeah, I mean, I just ran those sets to the point where I just couldn't mess them up.
Right.
It was so the set would be finalized at least 2 weeks ahead, and then I was just running it I don't know, many times a day.
You're like a trained boxer that's just in the zone, doing it. That's pretty dope. And I mean, it's what is that? There's something about the human body and also just things breaking down at the worst possible moment, things that would never happen to you, turning off the turntable in the middle of a juggle. You probably couldn't even try to do that, and then of course it's gonna happen at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
And just the getting nervous and mouth being dry. And I've had so many things like that where you're why are you doing this to me? It's already bad enough. Hold me together, body. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Those battles are so stressful. I honestly, people always say it looks like I'm having fun up there, but that's just like all acting. I mean, you know, I would practice like the choreography and everything too, and like mouthing the words and all that. Like that's all rehearsed. But like
crazy.
In reality, like I don't want to be up there. Like that's the last thing I want to be doing. It's like way too much pressure.
You're like waiting for it to be over. Yeah. We torture ourselves. Why do we do this? We practice something, we love it, we want to show it to everyone, we get the opportunity, and then we freak out about it. It's like a weird cycle. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And then so once you won that, what kind of things happened after that?
So it was definitely like a real busy few years right after that. That was what really got me traveling outside of Chicago, outside of the Midwest. I was basically, you know, playing out of town nearly every week. And then the international stuff started happening. Like that took a little longer to catch on, but that was like starting like late 2014. 15, 16. I was like traveling mostly in Asia.
I've done I see you've done so many places in Asia, right?
Yeah, I've done like 6 Asia trips at this point.
Wow.
And like, yeah, a lot of different places, a lot of cities. Like there's a lot of places in Asia, but I've been to like half the countries or something.
That's amazing. What, like, are there any favorite places that you've played or just been to, period?
Yeah. I think for like clubs, Insanity Bangkok was amazing. It's just like big room, like full on EDM sort of thing with all the lights and cryo and all that stuff. And actually at that gig, Kashmir happened to be there, and he ended up playing, like he ended up just hopping on right before me.
Oh, wow.
It's like super weird. It's like, you know, my music is like 50% Kashmir samples, so it was like sick to play with him.
Right. You're like, thank you for that sample pack. This buildup is yours right here.
Yeah,
that's dope.
100%.
That's so cool. So Bangkok, Insanity in Bangkok sounds like an amazing place. So you know, prior to that, you're Chicago born and raised, right? You came up DJing in Chicago, and your musical roots are from there, right?
Yeah, technically I was born in Denver. But,
okay.
We moved when I was super young, so basically, yeah, grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, started playing drums at age 10, and then got my turntables and started getting into like drum machines and samplers, all right around when I was 14.
Nice.
And then you know, like moved up to the MPC 2000 when I was like 16 or almost 17. And then I actually went to college for music for jazz studies on drums.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I went to Capitol in Columbus, Ohio.
Nice.
And then after college, I came back to Chicago, and that was actually the first year after college, I was actually in a band with more or less full time. It was like, I was a drummer in this like acoustic rock act called the Aaron Williams Band.
Okay.
And then after that was when I really started DJing heavily. So I was like, I didn't really start DJing full time till like late 2009, I would say.
Okay, got it. And that was because you were in the band, or you were doing other things too?
Yeah, I was in the band. I was, you know, always doing production.
Right.
And yeah, I was like DJing here and there, but it wasn't a full-time thing till a bit later.
Yeah. And I mean, there seems to be such a connection between drummers and DJs a lot of the time. I feel like there's parallel musical elements for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I think any sort of musical training is going to help you DJing.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that all the time, and I don't know if people realize like the full extent of that, of the way that influenced my DJing. Like I've always approached it as a musician. I wasn't like a club guy. I wasn't like an MC host guy. Like I was always a musician. And
right.
You know, even when I started DJing, I had no intention of playing clubs or parties. Like I wasn't thinking about that at all.
Yeah.
I just wanted to scratch.
Yeah.
I was just scratching, juggling, and for a long time, I didn't start playing parties till I had owned turntables for like 9 years, basically.
Right.
Which is, the opposite of what seems to be happening a lot now.
Yeah. No, same. I wanted to learn every little scratch. Same with when I got mine. And I think it plays into the same thing as practicing drums, something you can just do all day, every day and get down these patterns and rhythms and things with your fingers and stuff. And same thing.
You learn how to practice. You learn how to improve at things, and you just apply the same tactics to DJing.
Right.
It's like, I feel like being a musician. Part of being a musician, at least, is like playing multiple instruments. Every good musician I know plays at least 2 things pretty well.
Yeah.
So like, once you've learned one instrument, it's like adding more becomes easier and easier, I think. Because you just understand music and you understand how to learn. So
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And so, you came up in Chicago, and then, you started playing in '09 more regularly, or kind of a full-time thing then. And you were there, I would hang out with you in Chicago a lot when I would come out there. Like, I see you,
Yeah, totally.
when I would come out there, and like, you're a staple in the scene, doing everything from nightclubs to festivals to, I'm sure, events and all kinds of stuff out there. And then you made the move to the West Coast and headed out to LA and then eventually Vegas. What prompted that?
The immediate prompt was taking like a 3-week trip to LA in like February, March.
Yeah.
When it was 0 degrees in Chicago and it was 75 in LA.
Right.
I was like, I don't know what we're doing there in Chicago, but
I don't know either.
So there was that, but also my main focus at that time, or for a long time before and after that, was making dance music and becoming, a dance music artist.
Right.
And I felt like I needed to be in LA to be closer to that industry, and because that's kind of where it was all happening at the time. I feel like now maybe it's spread out a little bit. Everything's become a little more remote, but man, at that time, like all the labels, all the managers, all the parties that you wanted to play, like it was all in LA.
Yeah.
You had to be there. So that was the main focus, and that was the main reason I went there. And then, I was able to make a few things happen. I put out some collabs. I signed some tracks to some labels. I got a bunch of support from some big DJs and all this stuff. I got all these things sort of happening, but it never really quite took me over the hump where I was able to like just book EDM gigs. I was still having to do the top 40 stuff,
right,
to make a living. And then and also like in 2015 when I moved, I wasn't really playing in Chicago, so that also made it like a lot easier to leave. Yeah. I was basically, I had basically all my last residency had ended, like my last proper residency had ended like 6 months before Three Style, or actually less, maybe just a few months before Three Style.
Right.
I was doing radio, first Kiss FM and then B96, and then that I ended up leaving also in like 2014, a little bit before I moved to LA. Mm-hmm. And then like post Three Style, there was only one club that I was really playing at, and it was that was only every few months. And then that place also ended up closing end of 2014. So I just didn't have that much going on in Chicago. Yeah. And it was like, well, this is the time. And I was making most of my living traveling anyway, so it just gave me the opportunity to move. And then the other thing that happened in LA was I got really into the outdoors. Right. Starting with hiking and backpacking, and then into climbing and snowboarding. And then that was definitely a factor in moving to Vegas, where all that stuff is super
so interesting. And I swear I might be making this up, but I feel like I talked to you like the first day after you had your first hike of your life or something. Like,
I mean, maybe.
I feel like I remember you telling me like, I went on a hike out there and it was amazing. I liked it. And then as I saw you more or talked to you or saw you online, like you became like so into it, and you became like really like one of your hobbies, to the point where it was a massive part of your life, right? You were like you just said, I mean, now I've seen you like conquering insane mountains and like posting things online where I'm like, holy shit, this guy's going all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, now the focus is all sport climbing, and snowboarding is kind of a secondary thing. But
amazing. So wait, where did that start, and how did that start?
Like the climbing?
Yeah, I guess we're like that first hike that like you came to LA and you just went on a hike.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a bunch of my like DJ homies in LA that were also sort of getting into it at the same time.
Yeah.
It was like maple syrup, Kid Cut Up,
right.
Dosa, Jason, like all these guys were, and we would go out. Oh, Dynamics sometimes.
Yeah.
We would all, So we would all kind of link up and head out to, to some different spots. And then I just ended up like taking it.
You just really fell in love with it.
Yeah. And then like I did a backpacking trip in Yosemite and like saw the climbers there. And then once I got back from that trip, I just went to a climbing gym in LA like by myself and took like the intro courses and just started from there.
Damn. So what do you do now with that? Like you literally go climb a mountain like with a rope tied onto you or something?
Yeah. So my primary thing is called sport climbing. So it's bolted routes, like previously established routes, climbing with a rope and clipping into bolts that have been placed there already. And it's basically a game of like getting to the top of the route without falling or taking, which would be like resting on the rope. So we kind of like we like find routes that are really hard that it's called projecting. So we might work on one route for weeks or months, or some people even longer, to just to like get it done.
So you mean you work on it for weeks or months in terms of like to do it without resting on the rope or falling? Like every time you do that, you reset.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the goal is to
that's how you learn it and you do it. It's not
ground.
like common that you just pop up there and you can just do it like first time.
I mean, some stuff. Like
Right.
if it's easy enough, you'll just run up it. But yeah, most people get to a place where they want to push their limit, and that's how you're able to push the difficulty.
Oh my God.
And there's like grading. There's a whole grading system. So everyone's always trying to like push their maximum grade.
Yeah. Wow. Have you ever like fallen or had a really scary experience?
There's been a couple like sketchy falls, but like in general, sport climbing is like as safe as it gets.
Because it's all, like you said, the established routes and you just learn how to do everything properly and then you're good.
Yeah, the protection is all there. Like bolts, are generally good. They don't just come out of the wall.
Right.
So yeah, and you're falling all the time when you're trying hard stuff.
And when you fall, it's just like the knot or the rope like just holds you.
Yeah, I mean you have a belayer that's paying out slack and ideally is paying attention, and they make sure that you that they catch you, but they also don't catch you too hard so you don't swing into the wall. It's a whole thing. But
damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a whole other Instagram for all that stuff.
Oh, you do?
I was posting way too much of that on my main Instagram, and I had to separate it, and now it's like they both have their own.
Oh, I need to check that. What is it? What's the Instagram?
Yeah, so it's 5 foot beta, like the number 5, and then FOOTBETA.
Okay, amazing. I got to check that. Yeah, I did notice you stopped posting it on your Trentino DJ page.
Yeah, it's just the way social media is now. It's like you got to be so focused.
Right,
Anything
otherwise
that
it stops
deviates-
showing it to people.
Yeah, anything that deviates from your main audience or whatever, it's like just gets no reaction. Like you can't. It's not even about like representing yourself as a person anymore. It's like strictly business. It has to be so focused now.
Right. I even noticed with the TikTok stuff, everyone's like, oh, I don't get it. Or how do you do it? You got to post a routine. You got to post dancing. I'm like, I think you just have to post one thing over and over and over and over and over and over until it knows that you're the person of that thing, because once you start posting other shit, it like gets confused and doesn't show it to anybody or something.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't know. It's all marketing. Plus, like,
right.
I don't think it's like I don't find it super healthy to post personal stuff and be talking about, you know, personal stuff in public all the time. I used to post opinions and things, and I just don't do that anymore.
I feel you on that. A lot of times you spend time, going debating with people where you're like, what is the purpose of any of this? And who are these people? And why am I even doing this? And I know who I am and what I want to do. Why do I even care about talking to these random people online? So I feel you on that. Don't need to do it. So as far as the LA move, you know, before you ended up in Vegas, what were some of the positive and also some of the negative things that you encountered being there?
The positives, I mean, we're definitely going to all the parties. So like Space Yacht was a big one.
Yeah.
I started going there every week when it was still very small and saw it like blow up into this huge thing.
Right.
I also did a night there with like the Brooklyn Fire crew with Tommy Sunshine and all that. I've like put that whole thing together.
Oh, nice.
And then also like Low End Theory I was going to a lot. It was just an amazing party back then for like it was like Gas Lamp Killer, D Styles, and all the just playing like the weirdest stuff that you were not going to hear anywhere else. And it was like a sweaty box with this enormous sound system, and like that place was I mean, it was all that, and then just being in that place to be able to like do collabs and all that was great. But you know, otherwise, like, I mean, LA is like not the easiest city to live in. It's super expensive. The traffic is insane. It's really hard just to like get anywhere in the city or to leave the city. It's like just, you know, going to LAX is like an all day endeavor.
Totally.
So all that, I just sort of got over that after a little while.
Right. That makes sense. And then once you kind of discovered that probably some of your hobbies and the hiking and the different things you could do in Vegas, as well as there's DJ gigs like 24 hours a day in Vegas, I feel like.
There's way more work out here. LA is not really a nightlife city. I feel like people that haven't spent a lot of time there like don't really.
There's hardly any clubs.
Weird,
the clubs are open for like 2 hours. There's like one DJ that DJs every club. It's very weird. I know.
Yeah, everything closes at 2. Like you can't hop around places because everywhere is like 30 miles apart. It's like it's like a mission to go to one spot a night, and it's just it's not the place for that. And like the rates, from what I know, are not very good. So I mean, I wasn't DJing there hardly at all.
Right.
And then obviously Vegas, it's like half the cost of living, and the gigs pay twice as much. And it's like,
and there's way more of them. They're like, can you DJ at 3 in the morning or 10 a.m. or 11 p.m. or like, I feel like they have so many more shifts and places that need DJs at all times.
It's 24/7. Like the pools are, some of these pools that I play at, I mean, they're open every day.
That's crazy.
That's on top of all the nighttime stuff. And it's nuts.
That's great. So, I mean, that was kind of what I was going to ask you. Like, how do you like living in and DJing in Vegas? But it's
been great for the most part. I mean, the lifestyle is definitely great for me. I'm pretty much climbing outside 2 or 3 days a week, plus snowboarding in the season like once or twice a week. And
where are you climbing in that heat? Like, are you able to do it in such crazy heat?
Yeah, in the summer we go up to Mount Charleston, which is about 45 minutes away, and it's higher
cooler?
elevation.
Okay.
Yeah. So we drive up to about 8,000 feet, so it's usually about 30 degrees cooler than the city.
Oh, crazy. So it's almost cold.
Yeah, like right now it's a little bit warm for climbing, but you can climb all summer for sure.
That's so cool. And as far as snowboarding, where do you go for that?
Yeah, that's sort of in the same area. It's also about 45 minutes away. It's a little it's like the next canyon over. But yeah, it's a small resort, but it's good. Like the snow's pretty dry, which is nice.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, for the accessibility, you can't beat it. And then I also go to Mammoth a lot too, which is about 5 hours from here.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
It's
about, like the same as from LA.
Right. It's about 6 hours from here. That's where everybody loves to go. I've actually never been up there, but I'm not a big, last time I went snowboarding, I broke my rib and I don't think I've ever got back on.
Damn.
It was on a DJ trip too. It was a Red Bull. Red Bull broke my damn rib. It was for like, not three style, but there was like a Red Bull DJ team at the time and they took us up to Aspen and
wow.
Like they had Louis Vito teach me to snowboard and I taught him to DJ and they like filmed the whole thing. I don't really know where the footage of this is, probably on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, he taught me to snowboard and we had so much fun. It was the best day. And that wasn't the day I broke my rib. It was the next day when all the Red Bull people were like, we're going down the terrain run. We're going to do jumps. I was like, no, I can't even do the back and forth thing. And of course, like something happened where I fell down the wrong way and like broke my rib and everybody was like, you would know if you broke your rib. And I'm with everyone like Stone Rock and like so many DJs and they're like, stop being a bitch. You know, like you would know if you broke your rib. You would know. I'm like, I think I know. It hurts so bad, you know? And then finally went to the urgent care and they're like, oh, you broke your rib. I was like, oh man, I'm not built for this.
No, it's definitely, it's a dangerous sport for sure. It's way more dangerous than climbing. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right. So many people I hear hurting themselves to snowboarding and skiing. And I remember Mick at the time was Mick Boogie, but now he's Mick. And he was like, I'm not going. And I'm like, come on, man, you got to go. And then I come back with the broken rib and he's just like in a warm house reading a book or something. I'm like, you're the smart one.
For sure. No, I mean, you just got to take it slow. It's, it's a steep learning curve. I feel like the whole first season snowboarding is like kind of brutal and you're definitely like
getting beat up,
a lot of injury, but then you kind of get to a point where you stop like catching your edge at least, and then it becomes a lot safer. And I mean, I'm pretty conservative with what I do. I'm not really into the park stuff. Like that's like I'm too old for that or whatever, but
right.
I just like carving and riding the big mountains, riding like steep terrain and stuff. But yeah,
that's dope. And so as far as DJing, we've had a lot of talk recently about record box, USB sticks, Serato, everything we got, going. And Vegas is sometimes the prime place to talk about that because like I'm going to DJ tomorrow, a pool, it's supposed to be 102 degrees. I'm already tripping about my laptop overheating. I did it 2 weeks ago and it made it through, but I was on an ice bucket and I like got some app to turn off my like turbo boost by Intel processor and like whatever little hack I could do. And I know that you're someone that's been a proponent of or someone that personally switched from Serato to record box and are using the USB sticks. And you were, I think, one of the first people that was fully comfortable on that, doing open format sets or doing any kind of set on a USB stick. Why did you make that change initially?
Yeah, so I was it was a little bit after I moved to LA. Part of the impetus was definitely wanting to play EDM parties. And I realized like I could not be showing up with a laptop to those.
Yeah, like you go to Space Yacht with the laptop and they're like, sorry, bro, no B2B for you.
Yeah, that's just not how it works in that world. It was also around the time where the switch from Scratch Live to Serato DJ was happening.
Yeah.
And so for a while I thought, all right, maybe I can do like, maybe I can use Club Kit and that'll make setup a little bit easier. Cause the switchovers were an enormous factor for me. Cause I was always switching over from people like on CDJs and then having to move the CDJs out of the way, set up the turntables.
Right.
Like first plug in my Serato box to the mixer. So I'm digging in the mixer during the other DJ's set and then having to like play like an 8-minute song and hope that I could get the turntables running and troubleshot and all that before, the song ran out. Like it was like at least a 20-minute process every time just to switch over. I was doing that all the time. And then even if the other DJs are on turntables, it's still a process, especially back then. Like it wasn't like everyone had dual USB interfaces and all that. Like it wasn't there yet.
Right.
And then I did one gig on Serato DJ and I lost control signal all of a sudden in the middle of my set. it was like this like loud. It just turned into like white noise through the speakers.
Oh no!
And I had to restart and everything, and that was the last time. I mean that's in my opinion, there's nothing more important than reliability. Because if something crashes or it won't connect and you can't play your set, or there's silence or white noise or something, that's the only time that everyone knows something is messed up.
Yes.
So I'm willing to do anything to avoid that. I mean, it's gotta work damn near 100% of the time. And if it doesn't, I can't use it. And that's why I got off of Serato, because it wasn't 100% of the time. And I mean, we all saw like these big crashes in very high stakes situations, and like, it's not worth it. It's just not suitable. I mean, for some people, maybe. For some people, I know that they say they've never had problems and it's been great and whatever. That's cool, but it never worked for me.
Right.
It's never reliable.
And also, I mean, just in defense of, I don't know about Serato, but everything is that like, problems can happen in any situation. You know, like I actually DJ'd 2 weeks ago and I was freaking out about, I don't want my computer to get messed up and all this stuff. And then I made sure I had the right equipment, and I got CDJ 3000s, and I had an S11 mixer, and I was like, let's go. I got everything I want. And somehow the main mixing board of the club turned off in the middle of my set. And I'm like, yo, is this my fault? And they're looking at me, and I'm like, I can hear it in my headphones. I could see it on the meters. It's all good. It's coming out of, the monitors, like everything. Yeah. It's just your thing. And they're like, oh no. So they had to figure it out. So I still had 5 minutes of silence, even though I covered all the bases, and I could have been on USB sticks in that environment, so you never know. But I totally 100%. Hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then there's also the fact of, I don't even have to bring a bag anymore. I used to show up. Yeah, I mean, I used to have 2 laptops with me all the time, because you always need a backup.
Right.
And then that on top of my Serato box and like 4 records, 4 slip mats, 4 needles, like, right. And I would come in with a rollerboard suitcase. So like even when I was traveling, I would like rearrange all my stuff and just show up with the suitcase, because I had so much stuff with me.
Right.
And now, I mean, I show up with a tiny little like man purse bag, whatever, which is mostly just my 360 camera and the stand. Like, it's not even DJ stuff.
Right.
Literally, I use in-ears, so these go on, so I don't lose them ever.
Yeah. I
just keep them on all night. And then I have a USB in my pocket, and then the bag has like backup USBs and a couple cables. I usually just have like an extra RCA and an extra Ethernet cable just in case. And that's it. And I have 3 backups,
Yeah.
Like with bringing no stuff. And then, I think we also need to think about safety a little bit these days. If something goes down in the club, I mean, I can run out. I'm not leaving anything there. I can leave at any time. I can be out and not have left, my laptop behind or anything like that. That's true. So, just straight up USB. That's amazing. And how do you keep the USBs mirrored? Or do you, like when you said you have a backup, like you have let's say you updated your drive for this gig you have tonight or something, or tomorrow. How do you make sure the other 1 or 2 that you have are mirrored to it? Do you just take Rekordbox and export them the same, or? Yeah. You just do multiple exports. So you do the same thing, like you'll plug it in, boom, export out whatever crates or things like that. Yeah. And also I'm somewhat new to the, Rekordbox game and making sure my USB is updated. Like, let's say I updated 10 crates, either ones for the thing or my history or whatever. And then I added like some new songs. Do I just re-export that crate and then it overrides everything, or will it just put in the new songs? How does that work? I usually just do everything all the time, so I'm not like dealing with like missing out crates or anything. Right. But yeah, you just open it and you hit the big arrow to export everything, and it updates, and it'll delete the stuff that you've deleted and all that.
And do you organize in Rekordbox? Like, is that your main platform to like import music, make crates, do all the stuff?
Yeah, I do everything in Rekordbox. When I switched over, I made the, maybe somewhat bold decision of just starting over.
Oh wow.
But I think it was good because I just needed to I feel like you need to do that once in a while. Like I hadn't started over since I started DJing, like since I got Serato in like 08.
Me too, since like 06 probably.
Yeah. So it was like 7 years of gunk.
Right.
So when I started, and I downsized my library a lot. So I think when I first switched, I only had like 1,400 songs, and that was okay for a little bit. Now I'm back up to like 4,500 or so. But it still fits on one USB. I mean, my main USB is like the size of a tooth, and it's 128 gigs, and it's got everything. That's
crazy. And so, what are some of the other things that you like about DJing off just USB or just like that? No laptop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just taking so much of the stress away.
Yeah,
I mean, I can have more fun. I don't have to worry about like my equipment getting damaged.
Right.
And it works. I'll say this, up till the 2000 Nexus 2s, it always worked every time. There's been some weird issues with the 3000s. Nothing where I couldn't like play a set, but honestly, the 3000s I do not think are up to par just durability wise. I've had a lot of weird issues, a lot of the same recurring issues.
How recent, though? Because I have heard that, I know they addressed a lot of those, and maybe it's better now, but I just, you use them all the time. So how recent or what type of things?
Yeah, I mean, I've had, as recent as a few weeks ago, I've had these kind of issues. There's like the sticky platter where you scratch, and then when you let go, the playback has stopped. And then it'll like start again a few seconds later, maybe.
Oh, wow.
So I've had that at least 3 or 4 venues now. A lot of broken hot cues just don't work. I mean, that kind of makes sense. But it didn't happen nearly as often on any of the older models. And then I've had weird situations where the DJ before me is using HID mode, and I plug in my USBs and start playing, and one of the players would start getting really slow, like scrolling through tracks. They were like taking a while to load, and then it would just freeze up entirely. And I restarted the player several times, and then eventually I just unplugged the HID USB out of the back, and it worked perfectly. So it's like,
weird.
Now it's like if someone's on HID, I just unplug all the USBs because in case it does that thing again.
That's so interesting.
And then also like the link occasionally is going out sometimes.
Wow.
Which isn't, I mean, the other side of this is like all these things are, they're like, it's not great, but they are pretty good about, having the backup. So like when your link goes out, I think on the new ones, the whole song is stored.
Yeah.
So it'll keep playing the old song. But even on the old ones, it would go into an emergency loop. So it would loop like a bar or two. So there are these like sort of fail safes built in, which are absolutely amazing and necessary. So it's not like I've had like total crashes, total silence with any of them. It's just been like annoying little things.
Right. But if you're going to a spot, like what's on your rider? What are you requesting?
It's basically I have like choices. So I have the 3000 as my first choice. Honestly, it's like if the venue has any of that stuff, like they're not renting it for me. So it's like I'm playing on whatever's there generally. But I do say that I need at least 2000 Nexuses.
Right.
Because before that, the regular 2000s, you have to, every time you load a track, you have to load your hot cues separately. And if you don't, and you press your hot cue, it's still the hot cues from the song you had previously loaded.
Right. I never understood that.
I don't know why they would ever design I don't think anyone in the history of DJing has like wanted to load a new track and then go back to the thing they were just playing. That doesn't make any sense.
Very
to
confusing.
me.
Very
I don't know.
confusing.
Yeah, I don't know how they. Yeah, I don't know how they worked that out. But so those. I mean, I can get through a set on that, and it,
yeah, of course.
Like it might be fine, but it's just reducing my margin for error, and it's like everything just takes longer, and you don't have as much time to think about where you want to go and like look at the crowd and try to figure out what's going on. Like every little thing just adds up and it just makes the whole experience worse. But basically I'm cool with anything 2000 Nexus or newer is like totally fine for me.
Right. Yeah, I've gotten pretty damn comfortable on the 2000 Nexus and the 3000s. There's a bit difference on the scratching where like I feel like I can scratch better on the 3000s, but I need to think about it, like how hard I'm pushing down versus the 2000s or something. Like sometimes the 3000s get away from me easier, I guess. I don't know what it is.
I think the 3000s, I think the jog wheels are too heavy, so they have like too much momentum.
I put it on the 3000s. I have to put it all the way to the heaviest setting. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I end up putting...
And on the 2000s, I'm like either halfway or even before. Like I have to make them lighter.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, on the 3000s, I think I've been adjusting to them a little bit. So now I'm not going all the way heavy anymore. It's maybe somewhere in the middle now. But the old ones, I would be... Like the Nexuses, I would be all the way light. And that was good.
Yeah.
And the jog wheel itself was lighter, which feels better to me. Feels a little bit closer to like a record.
Right. It's interesting.
And then the Nexus 2s were sort of in between that. So like, yeah, it all depends. And then of course, like the age and state of repair and all that affects it also. So you kind of have to, just feel it out.
Of course. No, I played at a place somewhat recently and like it was as if someone had poured like soda inside of the CDJ. It was like so stuck. You couldn't like adjust it for the tempo or anything. I was like, oh, I'm just going to have to figure out what to do here. Like,
yeah.
That's
crazy.
That's part
and
of
the other annoying thing.
Yeah.
When I'm sending riders and whatever out, like they made 3 different players that all are called CDJ 2000.
Right.
And that makes it so difficult because people do not understand the difference. There's like the difference between the 2000 and the 2000 Nexus is like night and day, but like your average club person or whoever you're dealing with doesn't understand. They don't understand that's like those are completely different things. They're just like, oh yeah, we got the CDJ 2000s. I'm like, which ones though? Because there's 3 different CDJ 2000s.
I know
that are all totally different. Like
that's why I'm like, let's go 3000s. You know what I mean? So at least we know we want the newest.
Yeah, 3000s. Everyone knows now. Like why is the model number? It's like 10 digits long. It's got Nexus and Nexus 2. Like
I don't know what
the
right. I feel you on that. But it's same with like techniques. You're like, I want 1200. So 1200 MK2, 1200 this, 1200, 1210. You know, and you're like, the person would just show up like, I don't know, bro. I got turntables. And you're like, all right.
Yeah.
I'll try to make it work. That's and so you mentioned before the 360 camera. Which one are you using? The GoPro 360?
I have the Insta 360 1X2.
Yeah, they're very similar, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I have the GoPro. I have the GoPro 360, which is what I use. And for people wondering what the hell we're talking about, both you and I have been posting, I feel like since some of the beginning DJs posting these type of videos of these 360 videos that we film. So we have a camera that has 2 lenses, one on each side that will film 180 degrees and then combine it to 360 degrees. And then you can use an app or some sort of video editing app and you can do keyframes to show where the camera should aim at. So you're like, okay, this is the part where I do my scratch, aim it at me, then boom, aim it out at the crowd, you know, and you can, and people are always asking me like, how do you do that? You know, so, I mean, how many times a day are you hit up for someone asking you how you did that?
Yeah, all the time.
Every day.
I mean, I had to hit you up about it because
I
saw, I mean, I got to give the credit to you for sure. You were the first DJ that I saw.
Thank you.
That was like, yeah, you were the one. And I saw it and I didn't know what was going on. It's like, there's what is this? Like, I don't even understand how this is happening.
I know.
No idea. You told me, and then I just dove in and got the thing and started doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got some amazing videos. The beauty of it is being able to film every little thing and then show people later, because as a DJ, we see everything. You know, we're trying to read the room. We're trying to see anything from managers to people fighting to girls dancing to someone asking us to us DJing and dancing and all that. So we see all types of crazy shit around the club, and then we just have to tell someone a story, and then that's it. But with the 360 camera, it'll film everything. So like you have a video called when she realizes you know how to scratch or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's you DJing, and then it sort of zooms in on the girl behind you as she slowly realizes you're making this crazy sound. And I feel like it went viral because every DJ was like, this is incredible. And you get to see all the different elements of what's happening in the club. And you have another one where the girl falls down. And it's like, it's amazing to be able to share that stuff with the public, because before we weren't able to really, you didn't have your phone out to film that crazy stuff. But then later, now I go, oh my God, I remember the girl was holding her phone on her head for 10 minutes. I got to find that in my video. I'm going to put it online, you know? So I think that's one of the nice things of having the 360 cameras.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, those were definitely some of the biggest ones for me. It was like the random girls caught either looking at me or filming me, or like the one where the girl fell over. That was like my biggest one by far.
The falling over?
That one went super viral. It's like almost 8 million views on Instagram.
What? Oh my God. It's like America's funniest home videos. That's what, I mean, why are we posting videos of DJing? We just need to post people falling down.
I know. It's like, all right, I got 8 million views, but like, it doesn't really show anything about me.
Oh,
like,
my biggest one's like 2 million. I posted this video multiple times too, so it's probably got millions. Just the last time I posted it, it got 2 million views alone just on Instagram. And it's just like 4 seconds long of me just slowly nudging a girl out of the booth. That's my biggest video. It's like, what the hell? So yeah, that's, I don't know. We're all overthinking it, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just sort of the new economy, is like these super short little moments.
Right. That's so how do you like utilize yours? Like you have a little tripod for it and then stand it up really tall and then go through the footage later, or what's your process?
Yeah, I just use the little tripod. I put it right next to me. And I'll usually turn it on and off a bunch during my set.
Same.
Because you can really only film about 80 minutes, I think.
On the GoPro, you can do forever, which I filmed a 3-hour full set, and I was like, holy shit.
Oh, wow.
But I'm like, what do I do with this? It's so hard for me to go through it later. Like, my technique, it's been, because it's actually daunting to go back and go through the footage. I'm like, I don't want to, I just lived this. I don't want to go back through and watch 3 hours of myself DJing. But, so a lot of it is just sitting there, and I don't know, I keep saying, I got to go through it. But something that's, motivated me or helped me a little bit to get through it is I'll record the audio of my set in Serato. I know you don't have Serato now, so sorry, but I record the audio of my set in Serato, and then I record the video on the video. And then I'll put the audio, and I'll sometimes, if I can, get myself to do it, listen back to the audio and then try to make markers of like, oh, that part was dope. I'm going to go back and find it in the video. Now at least I know, because otherwise I'm sitting there trying in this app to... That's the only thing, is that there's no way to import the 360 footage to anything except for the app, right? That comes with...
Right.
So that's kind of annoying.
Everything has to be edited. I mean, maybe one day you'll be able to upload the raw thing and people can look at it in there.
Right. Or I wish I could just go through it on my computer. I'm still learning how to do it better, but yeah, I try to get those.
You still edit all on your phone?
Yeah, I do it all on my phone.
Oh, okay. I do it all on my laptop.
So what? Insta360 has a laptop app?
Yeah. Yeah, they have their own software, so I just do it all in there. But yeah, it's definitely time consuming.
Yeah, but it pays off, kind of, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, at a typical gig, I'm getting like I'm just taking short clips, like when I know I'm about to do something, I'll turn it on, and then sometimes I'll forget and I end up with like a 20-minute video or something. But I mean, I'm generally turning it on and off, but I'm generating like anywhere from like 40 to 60 gigs of raw footage at every gig. So then that has to go somewhere.
Right. I know. I've been trying to figure out what to do with that. I got these. I have two 256 gig cards that I filled up alone, and then I pop those onto a drive, and that's like a terabyte. You know, it's like 500 gigabytes, and then I do them twice, and it's a terabyte already. And then also to go back through that footage, I have to put it back onto the GoPro in order to look at it on the app. Unless there's a way, maybe GoPro has an app, and then I drag it on my desktop, and I can drag it in the GoPro desktop app. I should look into that. That might make my life easier.
I feel like they do. I don't know.
Because I want to drag it all onto a damn drive and just have, you know, but those drives have been getting filled up so quick too. I need to not, I've been filming the whole gigs. So like I'll film a 2-3 hour gig so and I just have massive amounts. It's like way too much. Yeah, no, that's a lot. I put all my stuff in Dropbox, and then I can unsync it from my computer, so it leaves me some That's space, a good idea.
That's also gonna run out eventually.
I mean, that's this podcast. I already have like 1.5 terabytes of like, you know, interviews like this. So it's like I keep buying Dropboxes and Google Drives and filling them up, and it's too much video. You know, you don't know what to do with it. But that's cool. And so and have you seen some good response from those videos online with followers or just anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, every time I have a big video, I definitely get a lot of followers and pretty good engagement and sharing and all that. I will say it has slowed down recently.
I noticed that as well.
It kind of ramped up for a bit, and then I had some enormous spikes from like some of those like girl videos, and then like honestly, like since that 8 million video, it kind of really tapered off. And my last several, like the last month or so, has been really slow, even slower than when I started posting them. So I don't know. Instagram's always just messing with the algorithm, and it's like all over the place. So
Same with TikTok. Like TikTok hates those videos. Like I'll put one on Instagram, it'll do so good. I put it on TikTok, it'll be like one person will like see it. It's like almost like they don't like. And then I even did a test where I posted a video from an event I did. One I filmed with my phone, one I filmed with my camera. The phone one got so many views and likes and comments, and they wouldn't stop showing it to people. The other one, which was almost the same thing, but was very clear and cool, and I directed it all nice, nothing. You know, maybe 100 people or something. But so there's something about, like, I don't know, like if they want you to be posting things that were filmed on a phone or natively, I have no idea if they're able to tell, but that's something I noticed too. I'm like, what is going on? Even from like a gig I did in Vegas 2 weeks ago, I had this really dope video and I posted it, and then I posted probably 5 minutes later another one that I just filmed with my phone real quick, like, look at this. And that one went insane, and the other one, hardly anybody saw it. So I don't know if they're throttling the ones or it's too overproduced.
Right. I think there is sort of a preference for like that raw content.
Right. It's interesting.
But I don't know. I still think like the stuff I'm doing with the 360 camera or anything that I've edited is so much better.
I know. I never understand. Sometimes I'm like, oh, here we go. This is going to be dope. And then I'm like, oh, nobody saw it. Like, what's going on? Not nobody, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's definitely less. There was a time where they would like go crazy and everyone would be like, how you doing this? And it was showing it to everybody. So it's interesting, but I still love it. It's a great way, especially as someone that's not necessarily got a whole team behind you, and we're traveling with camera people and we can buy multiple hotel rooms and tickets. Like, we're on the road by ourselves a lot of the time. I'm headed to Vegas by myself tonight, you know, for a gig tomorrow. You're headed to Chicago by yourself. It's your own personal cameraman in a way, or camera person.
Exactly.
You know, that
I'm always by myself. Like,
right. Pretty much me too.
Think like, I mean, I've done 20 countries. I've never taken anyone with me.
Right.
It's like that's not in my budget the way I do these
right.
trips,
So it's nice to have this because you can really film everything. You can put together crazy videos, and then now it'll just capture your entire set, and all that time you put into practicing, you can actually have a way to film it because there'd be so many times at the end of the night, I was like, damn, I wish somebody would have filmed that, or I would have filmed it, or I filmed it with one hand and mess up the mix. You know, so
actually, I used to use this little HTC camera before I had the 360, which was pretty good, but it was just a stationary like wide angle thing,
right?
Some of those videos did okay, but like nothing like the 360. 360 for filming yourself is the best for sure.
Yeah, filming yourself, and then any weird things that may happen around you. You know, like I just did some club and there was some insane fight, and like I haven't gone back to look at the footage, but I'm like, I'm sure I filmed this fight. You know, I'm sure I could go back and find some really crazy shit that happened during that time. Kind of horrible, but at the same time, cool to see.
I know.
So, I mean, it's, I recommend it, and everyone's always asking me. So here's the answer, guys. He's got the Insta360. I've got the GoPro 360. Everybody's also always asking, what's the difference? What do you think? I literally think they're identical. Like, I don't know. I can't.
Yeah.
I looked online. I don't think there's any difference, besides the shape of it.
Yeah, the shape is a little different. I think like the Insta360, like just will fit into a small bag or your pocket a little more easily. Right.
Mine's a bit heavier and like a square.
Thin. Yeah. And then I found some review that said they liked the software for the Insta360 better. So that's why.
Yeah. GoPro's always had weird software and disconnect. This software is so much better than all the past GoPro stuff. Okay. It definitely is like 1,000 times better, but I've always had a problem with the GoPro connection and software, and it's just kind of bulky. It's not good for me to get the stuff fast, which is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so we talked earlier about music production, and I know you've done all types of stuff. I've played your remixes. You've made original music, and also you do music for film and television, which was something you were talking about being in LA and doing. What are some things you've learned from being on the music production side of things?
Yeah. So, it started with like when I was 14, 15, doing mostly like sample based hip hop kind of stuff. That's sort of what I was into at the time. Like high school me was all about like the Roots, Jurassic 5, Black Eyed Peas, like early Black Eyed Peas stuff. Common, like Gangstar, all that. So I was like making like backpacker hip hop stuff, and then I got more into like synths and more of the like, I don't know, I guess commercial sort of things. And then in college, I went to college for jazz. I was sort of they really force you to you have to study and listen to and perform all kinds of music. So it was everything from like performing in concert bands and symphony orchestras to like accompanying choirs to like, the jazz groups and the fusion and all that. So I've done like literally everything. I've performed in like every kind of situation there is.
Right.
And then I got kind of more into like R&B and pop stuff in college, and then like afterward I really got into the dance music. So when I first really started making like original stuff to put out under my own name, it was like late 2010, and so that was the focus for a long time. And I think the thing about electronic music, like if you can make aggressive electronic music and you have a good handle on theory, like you can, like you're decent with harmony and melody and things, like you can make anything. It is the hardest kind of music to produce. I will die on that cross. Like the best producers in the world are bass music producers, 100%. And you see it over and over and over. Every time a bass music producer goes and makes something else, you may not even realize all the other like work
Skrillex
that they're doing.
and people like that.
Best.
Right.
Yeah, they're the best at it. We could talk. We talk about like my influences, like the guys that I think are.
Yeah, please. Like, who are some of the people? Name them off. I'd love to hear.
So as far as dance music, when I started getting into it, it was like maybe even before. I remember seeing Craze and Clever, I think 06 or 07.
Yeah.
Maybe 06 when they first started playing together, and they had just started getting into like Be More. So that was a big thing. Like that was a good like entry point because it's not like that aggressive. It's still like it's all like sample based and remixes of like pop songs and whatever.
Right.
And then it was into like the blog house electro thing that was going on starting like 07, 08, 09. And then that's where I got really into like the heavier, more like more interesting like sound design stuff. So like Jack Beats #1 for that era.
So
for
dope.
sure.
Yeah. And they were hip hop heads. You could hear it in their music, you know, that transitioned into that.
Yeah, they were both DMC champions.
Right.
One in the team, like +1 was a world champion in 2001, I think.
Yeah.
And the Benny G, right, was he was part of a crew that won at some point. I can't remember all the details, but yeah, they came from turntablism and started making the craziest house music. It was like house, but with crazy sound design.
Yep.
I guess what later came to be called fidget,
Right.
and all that, and then all the other stuff around that time was like Crookers, Fake Blood, you know, Feed Me came out somewhere around that time too. Like it was all that stuff.
Totally.
And then, you know, 2010, like Skrillex came in and just kicked the door down and like. And then it was a lot of these guys, even now, like a lot of the new dubstep guys come from rock, and there's a big, there's been a big resurgence of progressive rock, which I've gotten into the last couple of years as well, which a lot of people kind of credit EDM for helping that along. And there's definitely a connection there. Like a lot of the more like progressive rock and the aggressive electronic music, it has a lot in common. And there are also like the hybrid acts, like Phase One makes dubstep but with like hardcore breakdowns, and then you have like bands like Bring Me the Horizon, like incorporating all kinds of electronic elements in their music in a really interesting way.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah, so we have this whole... So, yeah, I mean, Skrillex, obviously massive influence, and then getting into... I think even through Skrillex, I may have found out about Noisia, which was... They were sort of the predecessors to all the aggressive dubstep stuff. They came from the drum and bass scene.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're more drum and bass, and then have evolved from there.
Yeah, from the Netherlands, and then into, like, super into, like, Knife Party, Wolfgang Gartner... Koan Sound, all the best guys, you know, like
all amazing sound designers too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's to me, like that's the cutting edge. If you're into production, if you're into like making music on a computer, like those are the best guys. Like even if you don't like their music, you have to respect what they're doing because that stuff is so much more involved and so much more cutting edge, and that's where I feel like that's the cutting edge. That's where all the creativity and the people that are really pushing things forward, that's where it's happening. Like it might have used to been hip hop at some point, but I don't think it is anymore. I think when it comes to just raw production chops, like that's where you find it.
Interesting. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know, they're really experimenting and pushing the envelope and just creating sounds that have never been heard before, you know, and I think that's also what a lot of young people like to hear. You know, when you're young growing up, you hear something new and you're just like, oh my God, like, what is that? You know, I got to learn more about it.
Yeah. And I think in retrospect, like the kind of hip hop I was into in high school, I was always into like the weirder stuff.
Right.
Like the Roots were also doing crazy sound design at the time.
Yeah.
Doing crazy stuff with their mixing where like, you know, like the intro to Things Fall Apart, where it's like this super like distorted, crazy sounding, like messed up, like kick drum coming out of one side, like weird thing, and then it transitions into the cleanest, tightest thing you've ever heard. Like they were doing crazy, you know, that's sound design. I mean, that's like they were doing crazy stuff back then. So I think it makes a lot of sense that I was attracted to that, and then that kind of just turned into the electronic music.
Right.
Even though like you know, I don't know, culturally it's different or whatever, but like it wasn't,
No, but I mean, even I remember when the Roots had a drum and bass break at the end of one song, and I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. You know, they're actually listening to other stuff. I mean, they're obviously open-minded. I have Questlove and all these amazing people, you know, that music lovers as part of the group. So it makes sense. But yeah, that's so cool. And that's probably something you could even bring to the table when you do music and TV work, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like, so I really only started making like proper film / soundtrack music like last year. I basically got connected with this company in LA. Nothing's like 100% locked down, but I should have some placements coming up.
Nice.
For like some Netflix shows and things.
That's great.
Nothing's 100%, but we'll see. But yeah, I feel like it was a pretty easy transition for me. Like I definitely dug into YouTube. Like YouTube's the source for everything now. And YouTube's like how I found out about new artists now. Like I feel like on the live music, like rock and progressive stuff side, like I find like playthroughs on YouTube, and that's how I find out about new artists and like the new drummers and all this stuff. And then on the electronic side, it's like guys doing walkthroughs. My light just went out.
It's okay. You're more mysterious now.
Yeah, it's like all the really dope producers have a bunch of walkthroughs where they're showing their sessions, they're showing their sound design and their mixing and all that. And that's how I found out. That's like how I found out about AU5, who's like a huge influence now. Virtual Riot, Barely Alive, like all these new guys. But yeah, so I did the same thing with film music. There's a company called Spitfire that makes amazing sample libraries. They're like they're the best, and they have so much content on YouTube, so many tutorials by different composers talking about how to use their products, but also just how to compose and so that's
so cool.
Thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then getting some of their products as well. I use their stuff all the time.
You mean using like their sample packs or things like that?
It's more like sample based instruments.
Okay,
is what they do. So like I have like their Abbey Road 1, which is an orchestra recorded at Abbey Road, which is kind of like the standard classic like film orchestra,
right?
Like setup room, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, their stuff is so good, and they have a lot of stuff for free. They have a product called Labs, which is like their sort of experimental thing, and it's all free sounds. I mean, you could get away with just using that. I mean, it's crazy. And then, I ended up buying a couple things later. So now I feel like I can kind of cover everything. And I'm not doing like full on like orchestral arrangements, but I am using those kind of elements along with electronic stuff and samples and all that.
Right. Well, it's cool. It's almost like full circle. It's your whole life coming together, from your drumming and going to college for music to your love of hip hop and sampling and combining different sounds to your love of dance music and sound design. And you're able to really put that all into one thing, with the music and TV production, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's super fun, like making stuff. I feel like it's sort of lower pressure than making stuff that you're going to put out under your own name.
Right.
That's the hardest. But, this stuff's all kind of anonymous, and it's all background music. I think it's by nature, it's a little bit lower pressure. And it's fun to just kind of experiment and like get a lot of volume out, just do lots of ideas.
Yeah. And then so you just kind of connected with somebody that was able to connect you with the right people that do the licensing in that world.
Yeah, it was actually through one of my like electronic releases that ended up on SoundCloud Radio, and the guy that hosts the SoundCloud Radio also does this on the side.
Oh,
so it's like it all just kind of came around.
That's cool, but that also shows it definitely is good to put things out. It's not, even if it doesn't become the worldwide hit of the earth. You know what I mean? You don't know who's going to hear it that has an influential thing that could lead to something completely different for your life.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, that's all you can do is like you do the work, you keep making content, and you keep putting it out, and the rest is almost like not up to you. I mean,
yeah.
I never became an EDM superstar. It could still happen.
Right.
Who knows? I mean, I have lots of records that I'm sitting on that I'm trying to do something with.
Yeah.
But, I've put out some stuff, and it's gotten me into some other situations. So yeah, that's all you can do. You can't really control what happens. You just gotta keep doing stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, that's great advice. Yeah, exactly. I think some people maybe get disheartened by like, oh, I didn't get enough likes or not enough people downloaded it or it didn't get the response I thought, but you just really never know who's listening. And really you just have to do it for yourself and do it for the right reasons, you know, not always worry about getting that quick response from people or something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's hard because you're just working for what feels like nothing a lot of the time.
Yes, but totally.
That's just part of the game.
Yeah. So I mean, you're so busy doing all these different things. Do you have any other future goals or things that you want to try to make happen, or collaborations, or just plans for things that you know, projects?
Yeah, I mean, long term, I really want to build a production career that is sort of independent from my DJ career.
Right.
I don't necessarily want to be DJing full time forever. It's definitely rough on your health, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be up. I'm over doing the all night stuff. I love the pools. I love playing the pools in Vegas because get home at 5:30 and I can relax, and it's great.
Yeah.
I have no desire to be up till 5 a.m. every day. I mean, when I lived in Chicago, I was going to bed at 6 a.m. for like 10 years straight. It's
Right.
it's not sustainable.
No.
You know, you can kind of bounce back from that in your 20s, but you don't want to be doing that when you're 50.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's tough.
So I really want to build a production career that's sort of separate from that. And in the meantime, I am enjoying DJing again. I think I've come to peace with what it is, and I'm enjoying it as much as I can at the moment. I think I sort of struggled with that for a long time, like trying to make every gig into what I wanted it to be.
Right.
Like, trying to always push like my taste. Now, like, I leave my taste at the door. Like, I don't play music I like. I play what works.
Right.
Like 100%. I can't, like, I'm the kind of person, like, I can't go that direction at all because it won't work. My taste is so far from what's going on in the clubs at a typical top 40 mainstream venue. It's so far away from that like I just have to leave that out entirely.
Right.
I'm just going for what is going to be the most effective, and that's it. And I enjoy that. And I mean, it's way more fun playing music you don't like for people that enjoy it than it is to play music you like for people that don't enjoy it. That's the worst. Like, you never want to do that.
That's so interesting. It's true. It's the that is like the endless battle of a DJ, right? And like, you do want to be playing music you love and coming from this genuine standpoint, but at the same time, you're there to make everybody have a good time and facilitate a party. And so if that means playing music that they love, that you don't love, that's what I try to explain to people sometimes. Like, I have a better time playing a song that maybe they all love singing along to that I probably wouldn't listen to or want to even hear, than me playing some song that I want to hear and everybody's looking at me like, this sucks. So
yeah, no, that's the worst. There's nothing worse than that. And it's great when you're playing music you love for people that love it.
Of course, that's the ultimate, connection if you can do that. But not every DJ has that luxury, and even DJs that do, it's not every gig is like that.
Right. I mean, that's something I get to do like a couple times a year, maybe.
Right.
The rest of the time, I mean, I'm just playing. I mean, and I think it sounds a little bit negative. I think it is getting better. Like, a few years ago, everything got so hip hop heavy. It got really boring and really not enjoyable for me. I've been really excited that like house and EDM have started coming back in some sort of format. And I feel like now I can get away with playing now a lot more, like a lot closer to how I was playing like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, also like pre-3Style, I wasn't playing hip hop like at all. I was like, my last residency in Chicago was a multi-room club that it was like mainstream EDM, like electro and progressive house in the main room. And that's where I played. I played there every week. Downstairs they had hip hop. I literally never played the hip hop room.
Yeah.
So like that wasn't me.
Right.
And then it had this whole reversal. Once I got out of Chicago traveling, everyone just thought I was the hip hop guy.
Right.
Which I always thought was weird because even in my 3-style sets, I always had EDM up front. Like all my 3-style sets start with electronic music, and I did that on purpose because I knew like I want to go this direction.
Yeah.
So and then people would say, "Oh, like, well, we booked you for 3-style," and I would show up and like play the same kind of stuff that was at the beginning of all my 3-style sets, and they didn't understand what was going on. I'm like, I don't know. It's like I never thought of myself as a hip hop DJ, but if you win a DJ battle, you're just automatically in that category.
Yeah.
Like, I'm convinced that when people see someone scratching over electronic music, it somehow like converts to like Premiere beats in their head. It's like you're not even I was scratching over jack beats.
Right.
And you expect me to show up and play like club rap.
It's
like,
the
I don't
scratching
know
part,
how we
I
got
guess.
there.
Yeah, they're like, you're scratching, you're a hip hop DJ.
Yeah, it's insane.
What's some of the music you're playing that's working for you in Vegas right now?
A lot of the like the sort of houseier and tech housey stuff, like it's always like remixes of top 40, remixes of big songs.
Yeah.
Almost always. But yeah, I'm able to get away with a lot more of those remixes, which makes it a lot more interesting to me. And like, I'm still playing like, when you're playing remixes, like these are still like great productions. Like,
yeah.
It's basically the same as electronic music, just with a popular vocal on top,
Yeah.
It's like
something that people can sing along to, that aren't
Yeah.
as seasoned in the EDM stuff.
Yeah, especially at the pools, I'm going a lot more that direction. I would say the nighttime gigs are definitely a little bit more hip hop, and that's just the typical stuff.
Right.
I still pretty remix heavy just because that's kind of what I do, and I can get away with it again. When I first moved to Vegas, a lot of gigs were like no remixes, like no build up, no drop, never ever. Like it's got to be the original version only.
Right.
But I think we've moved past that a little bit just in the last like since COVID,
Yeah, now it's almost like if you're just tasteful about it and you mix them together, the originals and the remixes, and you do it in the right way, where it's not too much of either one.
Yeah, it's always like back and forth. It's always both.
Right.
But it's typical stuff. Like the same hip hop tracks from 10 years ago, 20 years ago are still working.
Totally.
Those are still the biggest tracks of the night. Like it's just what it is. Like we're still playing All I Do Is Win and Swag Surfing and Get Low and and like In the Club. Like these are still the biggest songs. Like
and some of them are 20 years old.
It's I know.
Crazy.
It's like, and then, maybe you throw in some Bad Bunny or something.
Yes. Yeah. The Latin stuff definitely is having a big impact right now. Bad Bunny
huge,
and beyond. It's crazy. Yeah.
I never thought I'd be playing that stuff. I had no Latin music before. Like, I played in Ecuador, I think like 2018. And that was the first time I even like thought about Latin music.
Right.
Because there, all they wanted was big room, hard EDM and reggaeton. Like that was the format there. It was like back and forth.
Crazy.
It was crazy. And that was like right when Bad Bunny was like first kind of making some noise.
Right.
And now we're all playing Latin music.
They were waiting for Peppas at that time. Now they were manifesting it. Yeah, I mean that's but I like it. I like just being able to have all the different things come together, and like you said, it's made it more of a melting pot type of DJ set again, like it used to be 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a lot more fun recently, just being able to move around a bit.
Are there any kind of things you have coming out, projects or releases that you want to tell people about?
I don't think there's anything in particular. I'm working out a plan for all this stuff. I got a huge backlog of 360 videos I still gotta put out.
God, me too.
And multiple gigs. I haven't even like looked at the footage yet, but that'll all be coming out. And then the music, just stay tuned to my Instagram. Like it's all I run everything off Instagram now. So
dope. Yeah, that's what I noticed. So where can people find you? What's your Instagram and what are your other social media places?
Yeah, Trentino Music is my main Instagram. For the outdoor stuff, it's 5 Foot Beta. And that's kind of it. Like, I'll be on Facebook and these other things, but really, like, Instagram is everything now.
Yeah, I know. Instagram's like the main thing. Like I was helping to book a DJ for this private event coming up, and they were like, oh, we want this kind of thing. They're like, this is who we originally hired, but the head people said no. And they're like, you know, do you like look at his thing? And they showed me his links, and I'm like, he doesn't even have Instagram. First of all, he had every other thing. But I'm like, how are you going to just not have Instagram and be trying to do corporate events or clubs or anything? Like, that's what I went to try to just figure anything else about him. And then when I go to his TikTok, there's like nothing. You know, it's like a cat video or something.
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's
crazy.
like, yo, people are going to look at that, you guys, like whether you like it or not. Have stuff up there, even if it's just a few videos to show what you do. That's sort of the top thing that most professional places are going to check, even more than your
Instagram's
website.
Like, yeah. I don't think anyone goes to my website. I've always had one, but I don't know what for. Nobody's going there. It's like, yeah, Instagram's the first stop for everything.
Right. And I think TikTok is becoming a thing, but even with that, you should still, it's almost like Instagram's your more professional like page, and then TikTok can be your one of all the, to keep growing the audience.
Weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got on TikTok recently, and I just started putting up some of the 360 videos, and like they've done like okay, but I don't have big numbers on there or anything.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's more for like TikTok's more content based. Instagram is still a little bit more like creator based, where, you know, people follow you and your stuff. TikTok is just like whatever video is like killing right now, that's what you're gonna see.
Yeah. And like, just like niche based, like, okay, this person fishes for pieces of metal with a magnet every day, you know, and this person DJs weddings, and this person DJs, you know, I don't know, Indian parties, you know, everything has like, like the more concentrated you are, then people see it rather than just like, yo, I'm a DJ, like the old school way.
Yeah.
You have any advice for the DJs out there listening? Any last words?
I would say just stay healthy. Find something you like doing, preferably in the outdoors, and you know that'll keep you. You know, that'll be a good kind of hedge against the rest of the DJ lifestyle.
That's great.
Yeah,
so good. I think people forget we're stuck inside so much, and we're like, I got to do this, I got to do that, and then you go outside and you're like, oh God, I feel so much better.
For real, no, it's huge. It's something I could not give up at this point.
Right, and having interests outside of DJing and outside of your work, and just being able to just have fun with that.
I think we need to sort of normalize it, because I think for a long time it was like stigmatized. Like if you do anything outside of music, you're like wasting your time, you're wasting your talent or whatever. But I think it's starting to change. People are a lot more conscious of their health and well-being, and people are talking about it more. And a lot of my favorite artists are heavily into other like activities, other sports or whatever. And it's totally healthy and important and normal. Like, yeah,
that's true. Get healthy, y'all. No, you know, but I agree. I think mentally and physically, like that's the way to approach it. And it's great advice for anybody, up and coming DJs or people who have been doing it for 20, 30 years. Same advice. So amazing. Yo, Trentino, thank you for coming on the 20 podcast. Appreciate it. And maybe I'll see you tonight. I'm headed to Vegas, so I'll give you a call.
Let's get up. Yeah, let me know.
Get some dinner or something before you head out to Chicago. All right, cool. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was super fun.
For sure. All right, peace. All right, huge thank you to Trentino for coming on the show. So much insight, so much quality stuff was dropped on this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and it was great catching up with him and getting to know him better. The 20 podcast is produced by Beatsource. Join us next week for more interviews as we discuss music that matters to DJs. I'm DJ Spider signing off. Peace.